What's the wildest thing your child has done? Did you have a good laugh or learn an important lesson from that experience? Do you want to share your story? Maybe you can't stop thinking of a huge accomplishment that you had from being a mom. I want to hear about that too. Welcome to my podcast. The Wealth of Wellness presents This Incredible Mom Life. Hi, I'm Ami, a mom of 3 boys who have given me countless laughs, proud mama moments, and endless challenges. Join me every week as we hear the craziest and most unbelievable mom stories. I'll be sharing the huge accomplishments and triumphs of both our moms and their kids. We'll giggle, cheer on the kids, and discuss obstacles and lessons learned along the way. I want to hear if your 3-year-old says a stampede of boogies just came out of his nose, or if your 10-year-old created an infomercial to save his dad's receding hairline, or even if your 13-year-old's robotics project turned into a disaster. I also want to know if your 15-year-old finally came out of his shell in high school and joined a bunch of clubs, and even the fencing team. Let's share, laugh, learn, and grow together, one crazy mom story at a time. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I am so excited to share that we have our very first guest mom on the show. Yay. I'm honored to welcome Supermom Tracy Bingaman to This Incredible Mom Life. Tracy is a dynamic national and international speaker who helps clinicians land the biggest raises of their careers, scale their income, and achieve financial independence. From the depths of healthcare burnout, Tracy has healed to become a unicorn provider, enjoying a job she loves with abundant time, energy, and money. Now she helps healthcare professionals to pivot part-time, start and scale businesses, and cultivate career sustainability. As a thought leader on burnout, boundaries, and negotiation, she hosts the popular podcast, The PA is In, which recently celebrated 150,000 downloads. Tracy's mission is to help clinicians redefine success in their lives and careers through engaging presentations, interviews, and expert guidance. So welcome, Tracy. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be a guest on any show, but especially the first guest. I feel like there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Well, actually, you don't know this, but you often join me for lunch because when I'm home alone during the week, I will play an episode from your Fulfilled podcast because I'm not clinically working right now, but that one has some great stories. And so you keep me company while I'm eating. So thank you for being my lunch date.
Of course, I'm happy to be there. It's such an honor to be invited into everyone's day to day. I think podcasts are such a great way, especially if you're feeling kind of lonely and isolated in the season that you're in. Find a podcast where someone is talking about the things you're struggling with because you will feel immediately less alone.
Yes, awesome. So tell us a little bit about who you're mom to.
Oh, goodness. So I have not 1, not 2, but 5 kids, which I think 4 people look at you kind of funny. And when you get to 5, they start to say, like, what is wrong with these people? Whose idea was this to have all of these children? So I am stepmom and mom, which I don't really differentiate between the way that I parent my kids. I have 2 grown, gone stepsons who are now 22 and 19, and our little ones are 10, 8, and 6.
Awesome. I have 3 boys, just a little bit older than yours. They're 15, 13, and 11. So yeah, craziness. I'm sure you have plenty of wild and crazy mom stories.
Yeah, I never know. It's so interesting as a parent because you can think that you are just, I feel like as a parent, I either only feel like I'm completely failing or like I'm just hitting it out of the park. There is no in between. I'm either just like, what am I doing here? I have no idea. Or I'm so amazing. Someone did something or said something and I was like, it's working, right? We're parenting these kids so well. And then something will happen, like your 18-year-old will call you and say, what happens if I inject myself with my EpiPen? And I'm like, what? And he says, well, I thought it was the trainer and I was showing my friend how to use it and I accidentally injected my own leg with my EpiPen. And I say, well, your heart's going to race. I like clinically tell him what's going to happen. And then he says, should I eat a peanut? And you're like, how is this kid making it in the world? Like, no, do
To
not.
counteract it.
He's like, well, I mean, if I ate a peanut, it would feel worth it. And I'm like, do not eat a peanut.
Oh my goodness. That's great. I love it. All right. So share another, you just shared a great mom story, but share another one for us.
Yeah. So this is a really sort of sad turned happy moment with my daughter. I was really in the depths of feeling super burned out and overwhelmed with life and work. I was at the time working full-time clinically in a really demanding job where I was probably averaging somewhere between 55 and 60 hours a week. And I didn't work weekends, so that equated to 12 hours of salary a day, or all week long. And I had this day where I worked 12 hours, where I was on call overnight, and then getting ready to head back to the hospital for another 12-hour shift. And I was on the phone, I was transferring a patient, I was just very busy and focused, and certainly work needed my full attention at that moment. But because I was on call, I was at home doing that work on the couch. And my young 2-year-old daughter, I think one of the boys must have gotten her out of her crib, because I think she was still in her crib at this point, comes sort of toddling down the hall into the living room. She's wearing these purple footy pajamas, and her hair is just like a complete mess because she's just woken up from sleep. And she says to me, "Mama, up," because she wants me to hold her. And I have my laptop on my knees, and I'm on my phone with the transfer center, and text messages are coming in from other people who need me at work. And I said, "Honey, no, I can't hold you right now." Because she was a toddler who doesn't have a filter, and she has 4 older brothers who have taught her some choice words. She looked me right in the eye and she said, "Mama, you're stupid." And although that is not nice, we should not call people stupid, her saying that was this pivotal moment where just something broke inside of me, and I realized that she was right. And me being so on at work and so focused and so focusing on impressing other people and doing my job and getting raises and promotions and getting, leadership positions was stupid, because it was pulling me away from the things that I would have told you that I valued family. I would have told you that I valued, downtime and togetherness and those relationships. But if you actually looked at the way that I was spending my time and my energy, my schedule, my life did not reflect those things that I would have claimed to value at the time. So I had this huge breakdown, like breakdown crying. I have to hang up at the transfer center. The patient was fine. We got him to the hospital where he needed to go. And I just started bawling. And actually, one of my older boys said to my husband, "I think mommy might need a timeout." Like, I think
Yes.
I think that mommy needs to be sent to her room. And I was like, no one has needed a timeout ever in their life as much as I need a timeout in this moment. And I normally would do daycare drop off, but my husband took the kids that morning as I was sort of getting it together to go back to the hospital, just so exhausted. He comes back from dropping the kids off from daycare and he says, "Honey, you need to quit today." And I said, "Well, I know we've talked about it. We've run the numbers. I was really nervous about quitting, because I think so much of my identity was who I was at work and what I did, professionally." And then I said to him, "I don't have time to quit today. I don't have time to pee today, right? I do not have time to do anything other than the demands of my job today." So I didn't quit that day because I didn't want to quit in this like exhausted, knee-jerk reaction. But I did quit 1 week later. I quit that job. And I walked away sort of to be floundering, to not know exactly what was next for me. And that transition led me to another clinical position, eventually to part-time work and to entrepreneurship. So my daughter, with all of her pizzazz and lack of filter, and her attitude, which is still present in case you're wondering, she made me do that. And she, I guess what she really did was she made me realize that this life that I was just sprinting so hard to keep up with, this appearance of success, was not really what I wanted in my life, which is a tough realization, but was so needed for me at that time.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like she opened your eyes to something completely different and new.
Yeah. And there are so many moments of parenting where my kids will ask me, why do you do that? Or why are you telling us to do that if you're doing this? And,
Mm.
parenthood is just this beautiful, imperfect thing where you get to show your kids that you don't know everything, that you don't
Yes.
know a lot of things, that you are winging it and Googling it, and that you do not, in fact, know how a jet engine works, but we could find out together. And that is, I feel like personally, I have grown up a lot in parenting. I was a relatively
Mhm.
young mom when my little kids were born, and that we have sort of grown up together, that parenting them has taught me so much about myself and about life. You're just always learning. We never have arrived as parents.
Exactly. It's a journey, right?
For sure.
Awesome. So you did learn some important life lessons, I think, through that experience. Um, do you want to talk about how you transitioned from working full time into what you're doing now?
Sure. So I actually started my business and my podcast and being on this mission to serve people because at the time I was burned out and I was Googling resources and looking for someone who I saw and resonated with who was teaching on this, and I just didn't find it. So I thought, I cannot be the only person. In fact, the studies show that healthcare workers have somewhere between 60 and 95% of current providers feel like they're burned out. So why wasn't there better resources on the internet? So with zero experience in running a business, with zero experience in hosting a podcast, I embarked on this journey to figure out how to serve people in that way. We started originally talking about motherhood and then sort of pivoted into working moms in medicine, and now have sort of landed on clinicians at large and helping them have the skills they need to navigate through life and business and working in medicine. Ultimately, when I think about burnout, I think about burnout at one end of the spectrum, and at the other end is sustainability. So when you're burning out, whether that's professionally or personally or as a parent, you're burning through resources faster than you can replenish them. And
Yes.
sustainability is where your burn rate, you're always going to be using time and energy and money to live your life and to do the things that are important to you. But if you can replenish that time, if you have enough energy, if you are making more money, or even just being really judicious with the money that you already have, those things are not at a burn rate that's not sustainable. So we started talking a lot about sustainability in life, sustainability in working in healthcare, sustainability as a parent, because you cannot pour from an empty cup, which is such a cliche, but it's so incredibly important to remember that if you are burned out, it's going to affect your entire family. And when I
Yes.
was burned out, I wasn't the person that I wanted to be. I wasn't the wife that I wanted to be. I wasn't the mom that I knew I could
Mhm.
be, even though I didn't really know how to be that person at the time. Um, so all of those things, thriving in all those different arenas exist on the other side of figuring out what's sustainable for you.
Yep.
So to me, sustainability is so much more important than quote unquote success, right? Success, the way that we have defined it as a culture. Success can look totally different for every different person. And you really are successful if you're sustainable and if you have a life that aligns with your values, which is oftentimes when you're feeling uncomfortable in your life, it's probably because you ended up in a position where what you're being asked to do is at odds with your values, or where you just were not that intentional about building a life in alignment with those values, and you're now sort of feeling that chafe or that discomfort that comes with living out of alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, just to tell you my burnout story, I was in a job that I actually liked. And I was working part time. It was very flexible for the kids, and I could run around like to all their activities and this and that. But I was just going to work for a paycheck.
Mm.
And there was no room for growth or anything. And I didn't realize that until after I became a coach. But when I joined the coaching program and I was just learning new stuff, and starting a business is like learning a foreign language. I always tell people. And so I felt so alive and so much happier. And so, yeah, now I am just not working clinically, just doing coaching, but burnout can present in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So, to all the mamas who are listening, if you're experiencing any kind of burnout or you want to change your career and have more time and energy for your family at home, then Tracy is the one to talk to.
Thank you.
So, Tracy, tell us about your part-time transition guide?
Yeah. So part of this in a lot of working one-on-one with clients who are burned out and who are seeking something different, very few people have the opportunity to just say, I'm out, and to walk away from this great income, from, a six-figure salary, from the stability that comes with a regular paycheck. And so part-time work has sort of been this thing that oftentimes moms are not wanting to step all the way out of what you've been doing, but rather to do it on your terms and to find a way where you can add value and meet the needs of your employer on your timeline, right? So if we have a job where we can get the kids on the bus and then go to work or work from home or add value on our own hours, we don't have to completely unplug from professional development. We don't have to completely unplug from income. We don't have to completely unplug from this sense of fulfillment. I am a better person when I feel like I have a purpose and I am doing things that add value, whether at work or in business or in my family and life. So part-time work has sort of come out of the woodwork as this way that if you can swing it, and there's lots of different ways to make that work for your family, that it can just take the pressure off of that. If you are feeling like your life is this pressure cooker where it's just like building, and on your Instapot where it has that little release valve, you're like trying to release the pressure, but you're just like, this isn't working. Like, it's still hot in here. It's still too pressurized. Taking some of that hours at work, changing the format that you're working has this ability to just cool things down so that you have time and energy and margin to enjoy your kids. Because everyone says like, oh, it goes by so quickly and you're going to miss this. But truly, your kids are young for such a small window of time. If you have kids close together or you only have one kid, 18 years, right? And it sounds like a long time when you're up at 2 a.m. with a newborn, like, God, I have to do this for 18 years. But the thing about parenthood is it's constantly changing. So think about where you are now and what your life as a professional, what your life as a person, what your, career looks like, and what are going to be the demands in the next 3 to 5 years. Can you pivot your schedule? Can you pivot your career for 3 to 5 years? When we look at it 20, 25 years down the road, it's so overwhelming to think about what that would be. But like just for the next 3 years, what would be your ideal schedule? Could you get by on slightly less income? Do not go to a 0.5 and accept half of what you are making. There are ways to do this so you do not have to cut your income in half, even if you're dropping your hours by 50%. But finding a way that works for you because you want to show up well. And I think the thing that suffered the most when I was burned out was my relationship with my kids, because I was at work for 12 hours a day, which, by the way, were the 12 hours that my toddler was awake, right? And if I did manage to make it home for dinner and bath and bedtime, I was a shell of the person that I wanted to be. Like, they would show me something, they would tell me something. It would be this like nugget of opportunity for connection. And I just couldn't care. I wanted to care, but I couldn't care because I just was emotionally exhausted because of work and because of burnout. So think about what it would look like. And this part-time guide is essentially 5 steps to a smooth transition to part-time. So it walks you through all these things to consider, from benefits to income, from logistics, things that you're outsourcing now if you're working full-time that maybe you could save a little money to do yourself. All of those things are included in this guide. Who you have to talk to at work, sort of gauging how amenable your employer is to that transition. And, even if you look around and no one else in your organization is working part-time, someone has to be the first. So if you can find a way that you continue to meet the needs of your employer and you're working part-time, amazing. You're charting a path for other people. Also, you don't have to stay there. So if they're not willing to work with you, lots of other places have flexibility. There's opportunities to work remotely. There's all of these ways that you can fit work into your life. So I personally hate this phrase work-life balance, because why are we putting work first? And balance is totally unachievable. So like this teeter-totter of like work life. In my ideal world, everyone has a life that they love where work fits into the hours that works for them, where work is something that you do because you're passionate about it, because we need money to buy apples, right? Like all of these things, but that it fits into our life And we are no longer, these are my work hours, and I'm just trying to squeeze life into the moments in between work. But that life is like the main event, and work is something that you do sometimes because you want to, sometimes because you have to.
Yes, exactly. I think my sister-in-law said this one time, and I remember it when you were talking. She said, I'm trying to fit my work into my life.
Yeah.
So she's like, if I want to travel, if I want to do whatever, I'm going to do it. And work is going to accommodate that.
For sure.
Which is great. So I'll put the link to your guide in the show notes.
Yeah.
And tell us, Tracy, where people can find you and follow you.
Yeah, so my favorite place to hang out on the internet is LinkedIn. I've sort of discovered this as a gem of professional connection and finding, other entrepreneurs, other clinicians. So I'm on LinkedIn. If you search Tracy Bingaman, my website is tracybingaman.com. Send me a message on there. Send us an email, info@tracybingaman.com. If you have questions about this, if you just want to say, hey, me too. Like, I also feel like I'm drowning and I'm not doing a good job, which, by the way, is still true of me, the one who is teaching about all of these things. I'd love to hear from you guys about what's going well and what you're struggling with.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing your wisdom and your story and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. I am so grateful for you and for being the first guest.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Are you struggling to be the best mom you can be? Are you fatigued, overwhelmed, and stressed out? Are you losing precious time with your family because of PMS? If so, join my signature 12-week program, the Vibrant Women Project, and you will be a much happier mom. In just 3 months, you will learn how to eliminate your symptoms of PMS, increase your energy, reduce stress, and fully enjoy this incredible mom life. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something from these stories. If you enjoy this show, please make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. It really helps this show grow. If you have a mom story you would like to share, click on the link in the description below on becoming a podcast guest. Remember, the content on this podcast is for general information only. It does not replace any medical advice given by your healthcare providers. Please check with your doctor if you have any questions about your specific condition before starting any new diet or exercise regimen. Thank you, and you will hear from me soon.